he also joined John Jansen on his podcast this week and, shed a little bit of light into leaving the NFL after 20 years, coming to Michigan, what the system's going to look like. And he said that one of the first things he told the players to reassure them that they're in good hands here is that, hey, in all humility, I'm the OG of this system. And he was the coordinator when Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald were position coaches there in Baltimore, ran that defense for 4 years, goes and runs the New York Giants defense for 2 seasons, leaves and is now back in college. He said this is a bucket list type of thing, a dream job to be the defensive coordinator at Michigan. And he's comfortable coming back to college after all those seasons in the NFL, which is kind of amazing given the state of college athletics right now. But he returns a lot of talent. And one of the most interesting comments I thought he made when talking to John Jansen was about, he loves Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, what he has returning on the defensive side. He named other guys, Josiah Stewart, D. Moore. He's already got nicknames for everybody. He was calling Ernest Hausman Ernie. So that he's Ernie now. Like, to me, that's, he's Ernie.
Works for me.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he likes the talent. He said, hey, these players, I told him, come on into the staff meetings. Come on in and listen to what we're talking about, what we're planning. And, I kind of like how he's embraced and come in. And he said he loves going to the basketball, hockey, he can't wait for softball and baseball. Like, he's embraced being a college coach, and I think that's important.
I agree. I wonder how much he's going to recruit. We've heard some things about that. And, I don't think the former coordinators recruited a whole heck of a lot, to be honest with you. I think a lot of it was other guys. And but boy, did they ever put a team together. If you look at the 18 guys that they sent to the combine, and Wink Martindale, he's got an ego like all these coaches do. He's got a strong will like a lot of these coaches do. So, but there's no question that he's the unequivocal leader of this defense now, right? And you had guys there before that were kind of in co-coordinator positions. He's the guy. So follow his lead. Let's see what he can do. Hopefully he's not over aggressive, because you've proven that the way to beat the Ohio States and teams like that, the Washingtons, is you don't have to blitz all the time. You just have to confuse them and basically play good, solid, fundamental defense and tackle well. So I like the hire. We'll see how it translates. It's been a long, long time, but there's no question the guy knows football, right? So one thing about a great football team is that the staff really has to mesh, and that's what we've seen with the Michigan guys the last few years. Hopefully that'll still be the case here, because that's going to be important. You've seen what happens on the basketball side if you've got a culture problem and guys don't get along. Once John Sanderson left, that thing went in the tank for Juwan Howard and Michigan basketball. I anticipate these guys will get along well under Sharon Moore's guidance. Sharon Moore, again, never heard anybody say a bad word about this guy, so feel pretty good about the direction here in this first year. They got a lot of talent, guys. The second year is going to be the one where everybody's like, okay, how well do these guys coach? Because they're going to be losing a lot more talent too. But to me, this first year, there's a real opportunity here to get it off on the right foot.
Well, the thing too that made Michigan so successful on defense under Mike McDonald and under Jesse Minter was the fact that Martindale even mentioned this. When you watch Michigan on film, all those guys play with great technique and they come right at you. It just kind of, when you have guys that are that disciplined and that are that well taught, all you have to do is call the defense. And I think that that's going to be a huge key with some of these new hires on deep, on that side of the ball. Greg Scruggs, Brian Jean-Marie, Lamar Morgan. How fundamentally sound will their position groups be, and how much does that take off of Wink Martindale's plate? How much is his successor currently on the staff? That's something that I think a lot of us will be watching and paying attention to. For me, he's right. In a lot of ways, he is the OG of the system that Michigan ran. And we've talked about some of the differences between his style and Minter's style and McDonald's style. So you hope that, if there is some sort of, that he doesn't get too bullheaded and just kind of yell, well, I'm the manufacturer of this defense and what I say goes. I think there's going to be a lot more pliability than that. I think it's important too that it sounds like Sharon Moore is going to help set that identity of what they want to be on that side of the ball, which a head coach needs to do. He's not just going to hand the entire thing off to Wink Martindale and say, here you go. It's his program. He sets the tone. I think that, again, when you look at what they've done on both sides of the ball with the staff, again, I know it's almost wholesale changes. It is wholesale changes on the defensive side of the ball, but man, oh man, with the players they have coming back, with the, the teachers of the game, with some of the up and comers that they have, I really do think that defense has a chance to be maybe not quite as good as it was, because that was a special defense that helped them win a national title. But there's a lot of pieces there and a lot to be excited about.
No doubt. Well, another comment that stood out to me was a half-joking Wink Martindale saying, I wish we had a little bit easier schedule than what we have, but I guess it's something I'm used to from where I just came from, referencing the NFL. And to me, I think what you have to do as an NFL defensive coordinator, where every single week it's a different challenge. It's a lot of great quarterbacks and different styles of play from week to week, but they're all very good. I mean, these are great players you're going against. Going into this, next season where you do have a really challenging schedule, I think having somebody from the NFL, and it would have been more ideal to have Jesse Minter in charge of this defense, but having somebody that had to do that on a week-to-week basis, is not necessarily a bad thing either. So I think he'll be able to challenge it. And then the last thing that stood out was he was at the 1995 Michigan-Ohio State game, he said, the Tim Biaka-Batuka game, and he said he was sitting on the 50-yard line. The Dufecks were hosting him, and he said it was amazing. You look on the field, and you see so much talent in scarlet and gray, but somehow it was Michigan that was just mauling them up front, and the running back was going wild, and they were able to win that game and upset number 2 Ohio State. And part of the 90s is the mental edge that Michigan had over Ohio State. It feels similar now, and I think he understands the dynamic. I'm sure he's watched other Michigan Ohio State games, but that's a good game for Wink Martindale to have been at, I think, now that it's 20 whatever years later.
Yeah, and were you there? Were you alive, Clay, back in the day?
I was not.
When Tim Biaka-Batuka ran crazy on Ohio State?
I was not. I think, are you cutting in and out here? Probably.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we got you.
All right. No, I think that, that was one of the best football games I've ever seen by an individual performance in that game. It was fantastic. And you were absolutely right, though, about the mindset back then. They came in there with their butts clenched. Ohio State did, even when they had more talent than Michigan. And you could tell that Michigan had the mental edge in the series. And I think we're there again. Now, Ohio State has gone all in with the money, right? It's almost like the Dallas Cowboys, right? We'll give you everything you need. You're going to pay and pay some more, and you better win something. That seems to be what they've done with Ryan Day here. If Michigan finds a quarterback, guys, they're going to go in there with a lot of confidence and an outstanding defense, assuming they stay healthy. And that could be a lot of fun again. We are not conceding any game on the schedule. I've already gone on record as saying if Michigan has a solid quarterback, they're going to beat Texas. They're going to have a very good year, and I think they're going to make the playoff. I would not go down there and concede that Michigan's going to lose to Ohio State this year just because they bought a bunch of players and, feel like they're better now. I think in the trenches, Michigan has the potential to be better. We'll see what the offensive line does, but I trust Sharon Moore and Grant Newsome to do some really good things there. I can't wait. I got to tell you, it is really rejuvenated. It really rejuvenates you when you win a championship and you come back and you can't wait for that next Michigan football game again, right? We saw 15 of them, and it was in some ways the longest years of our lives, covering scandals and everything else. But it leaves you wanting more, and I can't wait to see some of these new guys. We're talking about the linebackers. I think the linebacker duo of Ernie and Jayshon Barham is going to be really, really good. And that defensive line is going to be dominant for the most part, especially on the interior. And then you've got an elite corner in Will Johnson and an elite safety in Rod Moore. Guys, let's get this thing going. It's going to be fun.
It's Ernie. It just cracks me up. Like Ernie. He's a Muppet or something.
They're going to call Bert and Ernie. They're going to call him Bert and Ernie on the inside. Jay Sean's nickname's going to be Bert. Yep. That's Sesame Street for you young kids, you old guys.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add there. I think they're in about as good a place you can be after everything that happened, the first 6 weeks of the offseason and all the change. They're in a pretty stable place, and now you get to actually practice ball and evaluate what you have. And I think one of the, I wrote about this in a mailbag that I did earlier today over on the website is, what are the benefits of starting spring football later than everyone else is that, not only are you going to see some of these position battles play out nationally, it gives Michigan a chance to, evaluate their guys, maybe just a smidge longer. Not that their spring ball is any longer, but the transfer portal window is going to open with about 5 days left still in Michigan spring camp. So they're going to know when that portal opens what they need and what might be available to them. So I think that's a good place to be in at this time.
And we may know who's planning on entering the portal based on maybe some guys sitting out the spring game. It's going to be kind of interesting in that little window there.